Oh God, he's so good. Hot Route Master. He's got Omaha. He's got Homer, so when I'm at home, he gets Omaha and like two completions. It's stupid. I was nutty. We'll talk about it. We will talk about it. All right. We are posting now. No, no, I want you to chime in. I want you to chime in. This is a collaborative group effort here. Well, we will wait for people to tune in here. I imagine we'll get pretty busy because I know these people have been clamoring for fantasy results. The pitchforks have been out in full force. I'm worried for my own safety if I don't hurry up and release these results. I just want to say I apologize to the Hard Knocks community. I have not been derelicting my duty. I have been tracking fantasy for a while now, and I want to explain that the reason that the results have not been posted anytime recently was because your good friend Mikey and I had this bright idea to do a fantasy podcast all the way back in week 7. Uh, Due to busy schedules, we couldn't get it really nailed down until about week 11. And all of a sudden, once I tried to schedule said podcast, Mr. Mikey decided to go all ghost on me and now won't respond to my calls or text. I feel like a scorned lover. The title of this podcast was officially The Colluder's Corner, aka Fantasy Football Now Hard Knocks Edition. But my partner in crime, my co-conspirator, is not here to join me. So instead, I'd like to introduce everyone's favorite butt-obsessed man, Booty Muncher, Freshly Baked Buns, who's decided to join me tonight on the Fantasy Podcast. Say hi. Yeah, we used our entire budget for the 2021 NFL Madden 21 season to get Booty Muncher on the podcast. But after all the booty eating, I think it'll be well worth it. I'm super excited to have him on. Very, very worth it. Very worth it. So the reason that we're doing this, mostly number one, is I'm tired of hearing Greg talk about himself for 30 minutes and then provide the league with terrible rankings. Other than that, hold on, I think Greg's sending me a message here. You can't hear Buns. Oh. All right, we're gonna fix out audio problems here. Thank you, Greg, for sending in a PSN message. It looks like nice guy. Yeah, he has a beautiful voice actually. Do I
Wow.
do I have
All
to do
right.
something?
Should be able to hear me now, I think. If
Let us
someone could
know if you can
say
hear his
in the chat.
voice. We'll wait for the slight delay. Hmm.
Hello, hello. Can y'all hear me? Should be able to. There it is.
I guess that's a confirmation that they can hear him.
Sounds
Uh,
like Emmanuel can hear me, so that's
Good,
all I
good,
need.
good, good. People can hear us. We're back. Anyway, we're tired of hearing Greg talk about himself for the entire podcast on end, so we decided to do our own. We also wanted to kind of freshen things up. Fantasy was getting kind of stale. I know at the beginning of the year, we had this big problem at the beginning of the Madden 20 season where we were basically all cheesing Noah Fant at the tight end position. Every single week it was Noah Fant as your tight end. We actually had a problem in the previous rendition of Hard Knocks where the tight end Dawson Knox, who I think was a Bills
Same
guy,
user,
same
same coach.
user, same user, cheesing to Dawson Knox over and over. So we ended up making the Fant rule, where we weren't picking tight ends anymore. We were just going to do two flexes. And then what happened was, over time, people realized how fucking good John Ross was, and so we had to institute the John Ross the third rule. And so what we had to do is we had to institute that rule change in week 9 and week 10, where you can't use the same player in back-to-back weeks. I thought it was a good rule change. I don't know about everybody else, but I did see an uptick on other players being used. Obviously, it made scores drop a little bit because people were starting to have busts in their lineup, which is always an actual part of real life fantasy. So it was good to see in this league as well. Um, just the way this works, the way this will work tonight is we're going to go through the results from week 7 through week 14. I'm going to be posting exactly, KK, the John Ross rule, a rule that's designed to keep John Ross down, which I'm sure you love because you love keeping the Bengals down. Hearty fuck you to KK. In a very compassionate way, not in like an animus type of way, but he knows I love him. So how we do this is we're going to post the results in the fantasy chat like we always do. They won't have a write-up, but they will have pictures, and I will announce verbally who won, and at the end of the podcast, I'll post all of the winners from all 8 weeks. Shut up, Manny. From all 8 weeks, and we'll have an easy way for the admin team to find out who won and realize who won because they suck and can't keep up with their own league. Anyway, sometimes when you see on these tiebreakers, we did have tiebreakers that came into effect. We did have people lose by 1 point, either in first or second place. If you see somebody with 10.7, we don't count decimal places on the yards. So if you have 97 yards, that's 9 points. It's not 9.7. So that's just how my Excel sheet works. So don't think that I'm cheating you because you have less of a score on the tiebreaker score than the overall raw score that you get from the calculations when I input your numbers on the spreadsheet. Okay, without further ado, I think we're going to get started with reading the results. So cue the music, please. Yeah. Yeah. How's that music sound?
Sounds great.
I don't know about you, but this just gets me fired up. This gets me ready.
Yeah, it does. It gets me hyped up.
Super hyped. Like, I can't turn on football. I can't turn on ESPN and hear this sound and not get hyped up.
That first time you hear this song, you know it's best time of the year.
Exactly. All right. So, week 7, going back to week 7, long time ago. I know you don't remember. I barely remember, and I was the one that was doing this shit. So, coming in at second place in your week 7 fantasy, we have Emmanuel Manny Sir Doddington, everyone's favorite cheeser, Mr. Engelrad himself. Manuel, week 7 winner, number 2, second place. Number 1, with 108 points, we have Joe Steck. Joe Steck with 108 points is your fantasy winner for week 7. So the thing about this week is this was the start of the Ross Taylor stack. The Ross Taylor stack has been so clutch this year. I can't think. I saw Taylor go off tonight, and I'm sure whenever I release the Week 16 results, he'll be high atop the list of running backs. But A-Bomb just loves to cheese strong close. He just loves it. Am I wrong?
Oh no, that's correct. And I'm the 2-time victim already this season. No one
right.
can tell you better than me.
That's right. You have to play the man twice a season, and I can only imagine he runs 25 times a game.
Yeah, 25 if you're lucky.
Exactly. So in this week we had 10 players. 10 players of the 32, which is pretty decent, actually. It's actually one of the higher participated weeks that we've had this year. So it's always nice to see when our numbers get above double digits. So we're going to go through which players pop off, and then we'll talk about which players kind of suck dick, because there are players that pop off and suck dick each week, and I'd like to talk about it. So first off, quarterback. You guys can look at the list. If you open the fantasy tab, you can pop in. You can see everybody's players. You can see who picked who. You can see the winner. You can see how many points they scored. Number 1 this week at the quarterback position was Joey B. 35 points. I don't think there's a better quarterback in the NFL than Joey B.
Was that the beginning of the Joey B? I guess Heisman isn't appropriate anymore. The Joey B MVP saga was week 7.
I don't know about MVP because Issine is so good at running the ball, but definitely quarterback of the year. He's been good since about halfway through his rookie season. But he really has shined this year. He's definitely, as you'll see, he's QB1 going throughout this season. I was playing my son, I. Murray, this week. It was an easy choice for the King of the North. I do King of the North things, and that's just how it goes. Second on the QB list, we have Mr. McDonald. Cole McDonald for the Browns put up 33 points this week, is good for QB2. He played Wisdom, and I'm taking Wisdom all day, every day if I'm playing against him. If I see somebody with a juicy matchup, and I picked McDonald this week, if I see somebody playing Wisdom that I know is a good user, I'm probably going to pick him.
Yeah, I mean, nothing against Wisdom. Came from his division when I was with the Vikings. And for, most users, that's going to be easy points.
Yeah, I had the good fortune of playing against him twice a year in Madden 20 when I was the Eagles, and I always had a field day. So I love you, Wisdom. We'll talk about you in positive light later, but for now, I'm picking you if I see a matchup that's juicy. Moving on to the running back position. This position was crap this week. And this is kind of a theme that we'll see throughout the night, is that running backs tend to bust. It's really hard to nail down when these running backs are going to go off, except for a few. You're going to see some bright spots from guys like Breida and Drake and Zeke and Fournette, but you won't see them consistently scoring throughout the week, except for a couple, and we'll obviously get to you-know-who later. I agree. So first off in this week, running back one was, again, Jonathan Taylor. A-bomb just goes off. I don't want to say he can't throw because he has the 4 routes that he can throw. So he can throw. He can throw, but he does love to cheese Jonathan Taylor. The dude has 93 speed. It's actually insane how fast this guy is for how big he is. And you can see that he's third in the league right now with rushing yards. He has 29 touchdowns. I think I heard on the podcast or on the stream earlier that he's 2 touchdowns away from breaking LaDainian Tomlinson's all-time record with 31 touchdowns. So I don't know how you can't pick Taylor. Anytime that I can, every other week, I'm throwing Taylor in my lineup, and I think you should as well.
Taylor's got 94 speed now, which about equals his carries per game, so you can't go wrong with
And
him.
I'm sure he's going to have X Factor by the end of the season if he doesn't already. He's going to have Jukebox and Bulldozer and all these kinds of skills.
He's actually a normal development trait right now, so...
What? How?
Yeah. Playing that well with normal development.
Why does he not have him as his team captain?
I don't know.
Well, he's
That's
just he probably thinks he has him as a team captain. He's just getting his leagues confused because he has 8 leagues and 7,000 children. Moving on. Running back number 2, Kenyon Drake. So JP loves to hype up Kenyon Drake. He likes to say, pick Kenyon Drake, and then every time I pick Kenyon Drake, he always disappoints. But not this week. Kenyon Drake goes off for 15 points. He talked him up early in the season. He's been hot and cold. This is lukewarm. I can't say that he was dependable. 15 points in the grand scheme of things is not very good. But when you consider that this week Journey Brown was on bye, and Breida put up 8 points in 4 lineups, Zeke put up 6 points in 2 lineups, Fournette was at average 12, and somehow Slick got boxed up and lost to the Jets again. I don't fucking know. And so Breida sucked. Kenyon Drake was number 2, and I got to give him props. Good for him for being supremely average. So that's it for running backs this week. Wide receivers. And guys, I want to be very honest, and I want to be very open and candid. I don't want to become Greg. I don't want to sound like him, but I cannot not talk up John Ross. This man is a fucking god. John Ross is not... Okay, so when I first got John Ross, the dude was fast, and that's about it. He had under 75 for all of his route runnings. His catching was shit. John Ross is now a goddamn wide receiver. The guy can cut, the guy can catch, he can ag you, he can run around you, he can juke you. The guy's insane, and this week he's your wide receiver 1 for 29 points. He was in 7 of 9 lineups. And this wasn't even a game... Booty, this wasn't even a game where he was supposed to be featured because this was an X-Factor game for Mixon, and he still ends up with 29. That's how good he is. I wasn't even looking for him. He's just always open. He had 3 touchdowns.
The guy's cheese. He's got 98 speed. He's going to find the holes.
He's going to
throw it to him. Throw it up.
I don't care who you put on him. He's going deep. He's posting. He's cornering. He'll drag you to death. You just can't stop him for 60 minutes, and no one could in week number 7. Number two, wide receiver 2 of the week, a very surprising wide receiver 2. It's Emmanuel Hall with 0 points. And the reason that he's number 2, do you know why?
I don't. Enlighten me.
Because even though he was on bye and he had 0 points, he was still the second most played receiver. The second
It
most
tends to
played
happen.
receiver. It tends to happen. I don't know. Do people just not like look at the matchups? I don't.
I think most people they see other people posting the lineups and they
Yeah,
just go for it.
they just copy paste. I do notice that. So we're not going to talk about kickers tonight. But one thing that I've noticed is that with the kicker position, people love to choose the Bears because weeks ago, somebody said in chat, Bears is the best kicker. Why would I not pick him? And now every single person picks the Bears kicker. There's at least 2 Bears kickers like every week. It's so hilarious. So what people say in the chat definitely has an effect on what people pick. Honorable mention for this week. So I don't have an honorable mention because I don't really check the scores of people that I don't have playing in a lineup because it just takes forever. But honorable mention to DJ Moore of the Panthers this week. 273 yards and 4 touchdowns. Was good for 51 points, but he wasn't in any lineups.
Yeah, he's had a few really good games. I'm not sure. Oh, his stats overall, he's broken 1,000 on the season. I'm not sure of his consistency, but there have been games where he's had really, really big games.
I agree, and that's the thing though is like with a lot of these receivers that you'll see, you just can't pinpoint when they're going to go off. It is much easier to choose a running back because they get so many carries. You could have a game where a receiver could go off for 150 yards and 2 touchdowns, and they get 1 catch the next game, and you'll see that when we get to certain teams' players. Cough, Jabbar. All right. So that is your Week 7 wrap-up. We have Manny in second with 98 points and Joe Steck in first. Joe Steck gets the +2. Manny gets the +1. Manny, at this point, I will let you know that you can probably check out because you're not featured in any of the winning results for the rest of the night. I know you were super excited, but you actually suck at fantasy. Moving on. Week 8. All right. Guys, so we can see in Week 8, we had in second place Isteen with 131 points. And first place we had Sib with 137. This week was high scoring.
Jesus
high
Christ.
scoring.
137 points. That has to be the maximum that anyone scored, right?
130. It probably is, at least anytime recently since I did these
Yeah,
updates.
that's the most that I've seen. That is crazy.
Well, I mean, here's the reason. You have Joey B popping off. He is QB number 1. Oh, before we get to players, I do want to note that Nick, the sweet Nicholas, Mr. Rage himself, missed out on second place by 1 point. I'm sure he's going to call me a cheater because of it. He's probably going to go to KK and be like posting screenshots of the spreadsheet to prove that he was been cheated and I should be kicked out of the league. But he did lose out by 1 point this week to Isteen, and that's really tough. You can see the tiebreaker math. You can check my math if you want to, but that's how it is. That's how it is. So anyway, with this high-scoring week, the reason is we had the Burrow, Kamara, Ross stack. We had a lot of high-scoring people besides those people, but that roster right there absolutely went nuts. Joey B was in 5 out of 8 lineups, 36 points. I don't know why you wouldn't play Joey B if you could. I'm passing the ball all over the place. I barely run anymore. He will be pissed. I agree. This was the game I played Joe Steck. So Joe Steck is tanking this year. He was openly telling me in chat that he was going to quit when the fourth quarter started. So Joey B only got 3 quarters on this one and still put up 36. He probably would have put up at least 45 if he was able to toss the ball in the fourth quarter. So he's your QB1 yet again. QB number 2, this was the Mike Milk Carton game. I think everyone can remember back in the day when Mike, the Pats user, who showed up after his very long vacancy.
Big start.
He showed up and he won a couple of games, and all of a sudden he was just whipping his cock out and trying to slap it across everyone's face. He was telling Slick it was his division. It was absolutely insane. So he rolls up against Darius, the Bucks, and Darius goes off. He whoops his ass. Brady puts up 34 points, good for QB2. If anyone has any information on Mike, he is missing. His family misses him. His loved ones are concerned, and we all just want to know that he's safe. Please, if you have it in your heart, please let us know where this man is. Nick was the only person that played Brady this week. It almost worked, but he did lose by 1 fucking point. Oh man. Okay, running backs. So Journey was back from his bye, and he was well fucking rested. Let me tell you. I don't know. There's something about Istine. What was the name of his running back in the last league with the Jags that was like super shitty but like awesome for him? Do you remember who I'm talking about?
Uh, I know exactly who you're talking about, but I don't know what his name is. I had never heard of the guy. I'm sure he will
Gibson.
comment.
Gibson. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
yes, yes, yes.
67
Antonio Gibson.
overall. The dude had like 96 speed, and Istine went off for him that one year where the Jags were rolling and then never went rolling again. So when I saw that he drafted Journey Brown, and then I saw that he had superstar and 96 speed, I just knew this guy was going to be a fantasy star. It didn't take very long for the league to figure out that Stretch Cheese, yes, was back in full force. 5 of 8 lineups this guy was started in this week, 38 points. At this point in the season, everyone was keen to the idea that you start Journey Brown if you can start Journey Brown. Uh, Everyone does. Second, Breida bounced back from his crap performance against the Jets the previous week, and he put up 35 points. I honestly expected Slick to use Breida better this season. Do
Yeah.
you share in
What
that?
what's going on with Slick? I mean, usually
Uh,
he's a top guy. I'm not sure what his season's looking like overall, but he's been pretty quiet.
I don't
You'd expect
know.
more, especially with Breida. I would think
So
there would be a lot of Breida cheese, maybe like some Chargers rolling Journey
right.
Brown type cheese, but he's
Breida
kind of let us
reminds me a
down.
lot. Breida reminds me a lot of JoJo Johnson, who was Slick's star halfback in the last league because he's super quick. I assume he has abilities. Let me find Breida here. Uh, Oh, he's an X Factor. How is he not doing better with him? He's got Apprentice, he's got Evasive, he's got 97 speed now, but he's just not up there. One in Slicks really needs to get it going with him. I just don't. I expect better things. Although we should have known that even against Dar, who can't stop a runny fucking nose, he would go off. So I'm not surprised that he did because Dar can't stop anybody. Um, Number 3 this week for running backs, Alvin Kamara. This was kind of the start of Kamara's emergence. So Manny hadn't been using Kamara very much throughout the season, but eventually he started using him a lot, and primarily in the passing game. And this was really the start of Manny's checkdown mode. Only 2 players played Kamara this week, and they both finished first and second place. So that just tells you there always is room for fading other players. If you can pick like, and that's something about general strategy for fantasy football in real life. If you can find the guy that no one else is starting and he pops off, you have a much better chance to win. Like this week when Manny was the only one to pick Akers and he runs for 5 touchdowns. He's probably going to win at least second place because of that. So you're going to see a lot players starting to fade the good players and picking up points elsewhere. Um, Another thing I want to talk about is Greg. Greg, I see you typing. I know you're listening. What the fuck are you doing with Zeke? I'll say it again. What the fuck are you doing with Ezekiel Elliott? I don't know whether or not I can start the guy, whether or not he's a bust. Should I start Pollard instead? I was ready to write him off. So the previous week he had 4.4 points, but this week he kind of pops off. I literally don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. He has 4.4 points this week. This is week 8. I assume you're not using him because you're trying to dev Pollard. And then all of a sudden next week he pops off, and we'll talk about that in a second. But uh, Zeke is one of the most frustrating players in the league because he's either scoring 30 or he's scoring 2 points.
I'm pretty sure I've become convinced that Greg is going the Bill Belichick method of giving a running back
Oh,
35 carries, 4
he's
touchdowns next week,
that's
bench
right.
him just for no
That's right.
reason,
He's just trying to
just to
fuck with
make
the league.
everyone else mad.
That's
Yeah,
right.
exactly.
He's gonna start. He's gonna start Damian Harris and then give all the carries to Rex Burkhead, and then next week it's the James White show. I
Or
totally agree with
do
you.
I dare say it? Do I dare throw it back to Jonas Gray?
Jonas Gray? Who the fuck is? I don't even know. That's the genius of Bill Belichick, and that's the genius of Greg, I guess, because who knows who he's
Any
gonna run this week.
any retro fantasy football guys? Go ahead and tell me who not Joe Jonas. Everyone knows that guy. Tell me who Jonas Gray is in the chat, and I'll give you a special shout out.
Oh gosh, I don't know who Jonas Gray is. Anyway, wide receivers. That's it for running backs this week. Taylor was a surprising bust. He didn't score that well. Somehow Bossman boxed him up in their first meeting of the season, which he did not do in their second, which we will talk about later tonight. Oh, KK knows Jonas
There we
Gray.
go.
He's a
Yeah, we
big
got
Jonas
some.
Gray fan.
Yep. Chargers rolling.
The
He
Chargers
knows.
are rolling.
He knows Jonas Gray. 200
Absolutely.
yards, 4 touchdowns. Was cut by I think that Thursday. And
Yikes.
if I'm not wrong, he was picked up by the Dolphins, but never really played a meaningful down again.
Wow,
That's Bill Belichick for you.
that's quite the story. I need to look that one up. Moving on to wide receivers, this week your wide receiver one was not John Ross, which is not something that happens most weeks. It was actually Marquise Goodwin with 28 points. He was only played in one lineup this week. TBK likes his speed, and early in the season he was utilized a lot more than he has been recently, but he's been a sneaky pick this year. But it does flop every so often. I know I've picked Goodwin twice so far, and each time it's kind of flopped for me, including one week where he gets me 0 points, which we'll talk about later, like I said. But Goodwin, sneaky good.
My habit is usually guys who talk about their own players in the chat are the ones that I rely on because I don't really know who else is good in here. So
Right.
I mean, as far as the actual league goes, I do, but I don't know who throws to who, what the stats are looking like.
Yeah.
And TBK, he doesn't talk much in the chat, so
No. Well, he's
you know,
he's so
he flies
busy
under
with
the radar.
the Daily Wire and the Ben Shapiro show that he just can't find the time to post in the chat, which I understand. The guy talks a lot. Um, Another thing with the wide receivers is it's hard to pin down who exactly is wide receiver two each week because there are so many busts. There are so many busts every week. One week you'll have Marquise Goodwin going off for 28, and the next week he'll put up 3 points. You'll have Emmanuel Hall going off. You'll have Jamar Chase maybe having a solid week. You'll have one of the Pittsburgh receivers going off. But you don't see consistency out of this position except for one man. Emmanuel Hall was number 2 this week, wide receiver 2. He was only in one lineup again. This year he's been overshadowed somewhat. Journey's MVP-like emergence for Istine has just been astounding. But I remember last season, he was chucking it up to him at least 20 times a game, just fucking throwing it up in the air and hoping he comes down with it. Like his season was over, he was out of the playoffs, but he just kept throwing it up to him, and he was tall and he was fast and he could ag people, so he was getting touchdowns. He actually passed up John Ross for wide receiver of the year, I think, because of all the cheese.
It almost feels like a wasted development to throw the ball up to him that many times. The next season, just completely turn around, run the ball, stretch it up, cheese it up.
Booty, I completely agree with you. Which is why Chargers, Istine, if you're listening, send Hall. Just send Hall. Whatever you need, baby. Just whatever you want. Your boys got them. Whatever you need for him, I've got you. Just send Hall. Talk to me in the off season. All right. Yes, I'm using my platform to negotiate for my team. KK, if you don't like it, suck it. Number 3, wide receiver 3 this week, John Ross with 23 points. He was in an astonishing six lineups of 8 lineups. He is going to be featured heavily every week up until the new rule gets put in place. I was trying to dev my rookie receiver, St. Brown, this week, but somehow Ross still got 2 touchdowns and 116 yards. It's really hard not to throw to the person that's always open. The only person besides me to not pick Ross was I Know You See It, and he picked DJ Chark. So remember what I said about fading. Sometimes it works, but sometimes it leaves you chasing everyone else that went chalk instead of Chark. All right. Sorry, I just had to. I write some of these jokes. Some of these jokes are not off the cuff, and that was one of them. And I hope you all enjoyed it. So that's it for week 8. I believe we had Sib with 137 in first, and Istine with the +1 in second place. Any other thoughts on week 8? Anything that you noticed that you wanted to include?
Week 8, I'm wondering, and I could be wrong, I'm wondering if this is the week that I called out Emmanuel for throwing the ball to Kamara like 40 times a game. I know he was mad about that, but it seems like that's when people started to pick up on him in their rosters a little bit, so...
The problem is that just happens so often that it's hard to remember what week you call him out on that because he just does it every week. So we'll get to that eventually. We have some stats on Kamara's pass game emergence this year. Moving on to week 9, I've just posted the results in the fantasy chat. We have your second place, G Wisdom, with 121 points, and your winner this week with your +2, Johnny Sins, with 126 points. Johnny Sins picking up his first win of this podcast season. He had the Russ, Zeke, Godwin, and Drake stack, which is a very unusual lineup. A very, very unusual lineup. Not seen very often, somebody going Russ and Godwin. Godwin was somebody that was always picked in the early days, especially last season. Jags, you could suck my dick. That was a great joke. Sorry, I had to pause, but that was a fantastic joke. But the Tampa Bay receivers were heavily picked, Evans and Godwin, and they would just split which week they would go off, so people just stopped picking them. But he actually had, I think, a decent week this week. Is that right? Let me find. How many points did he have? Godwin. No, he had 11.8.
11 points, yeah.
Yikes. So not great. But that's the problem with the receiver position. But you didn't need it. Another funny note was Wisdom picked a kicker on bye and still finished second place. That's impressive. Good for Wisdom.
Finally, he almost won something. Just had to screw it up.
He did. Good job, Wisdom. I'm super proud of you. Even if you can't win actual games in Madden, you at least can win fantasy in second place. So we had 13 players this week. This week was absolutely popping. I don't know what was going on, but everybody was getting in on the action. I think the most we've ever had play is 16 in 1 week, so 13 is a phenomenal turnout. Very, very happy to see that. QBs this week, Russell Wilson. Fantasy players really, I don't know what they did. I don't know if it's like Spidey sense, but they really just know when to use Russell Wilson because he hadn't been used much in the previous 2 weeks, but this week 6 people put him in his lineup, and all of a sudden he pops off for 39 points. But then he'll have games like he had tonight against Jags where Russell Wilson is absolutely terrible and he can barely put up any points. So I don't understand. So in week 9, he played Dar. He played Dar. Everybody knows. Play your starters against Dar. Dar, I love you.
I think, and I'm sorry, Jabbar, or as I call him, and Rams calls him Jafar. He, if you've seen him play, I think it makes a lot of sense why Russell Wilson's so inconsistent because he takes the snap, he does about 4 straight 360s in the pocket, runs straight to the sideline, and just throws it up.
It's true.
So there's just no telling how that's going to work. It's unsustainable.
It's true. He was running all around in circles tonight against John, and John was stroking his hair and making all these funny faces whenever his Josh Allen got sacks. It was incredible. But
see, I didn't even watch that game. I'm not even talking about that game.
Exactly. You didn't even know, and you can still peg it. That's
exactly.
that you have solved the Russell Wilson conundrum. So he went off for 39. He was your QB1. QB2 was no surprise. It was Joey B with 35 points. This was Tyler Boyd's superstar dev game, so not the controversial X Factor Gate game. He actually earned this dev legitly without having plays given to him. I was throwing a lot. But I always throw a lot, and that's why 4 lineups use Joey, because people know Joey is going to throw the ball. Running back was pretty pedestrian for the usual people. So Journey Brown put up only 15 points, and he was in 9 lineups. So people who always cheese Journey Brown had a very bad time in Week 9 because he got clamped up a bit. Who did the Chargers play Week 9?
Week 9. Let's see. I was wondering the same
He played the Chiefs. Oh, that's right. He was talking earlier in chat today about how the Chiefs locked up his run game. I don't know. I didn't have any problems playing offense against the Chiefs when I played him, so I'm not really sure. But I might have to text him or message him about some tips to stop Journey Brown because the dude is absolutely insane. This week, Booty Muncher, you helped out several fantasy lineups. 4 lineups had Kenyon Drake. JP finally delivers on his preeminent promise of fantasy stardom for Kenyon Drake, and he puts up 42 points against yours truly, Booty Muncher. What do you have to say for yourself?
That was my donation to the people of the league. You're welcome, but if you want a little context, what happened, I think up until maybe 2 minutes left, that was like a 1-score game. I think I threw an interception, 1 play touchdown from Drake, and then I'm pretty sure the same exact thing happened on the next drive. So he got pretty much all those points in garbage time. But my defense cannot stop anyone. I mean, if you look at the points I've given up, it's insane. So no excuses. It's just bad defense,
Just bad
bad
defense.
mechanics, bad
And
fundamentals.
on certain days it do be like that. It do.
Oh,
Sometimes it don't, but sometimes it do.
maybe sometimes it don't for you. It always do for me.
It do. Number two, running back two this week was Jonathan Taylor. 30 points in a bounce back week after a pretty so-so performance the week before. I don't really have much to say about A-Bomb or Jonathan Taylor. We already discussed him for a pretty long bit. The dude is fat, but he's fast, and he's a thick boy. He'll run your ass over, then he'll run around you on a stretch the next play, because that's probably what A-Bomb's calling. Number three, the return of Zeke. Once written off as a lowly scrub, once written off as the retired old man being thrown to the wayside in favor of Tony Pollard, Zeke returns with 28 points. And somehow everyone just used him again. Like, what? Like, is Greg messaging people and telling them, "Hey, start Zeke"?
The return of the prodigal son.
Oh, sorry, I had to scroll down for just a reason. Disregard. Hi, Nick. The prodigal son does return, 28 points. He was in 4 lineups after putting up 9 points the previous 2 weeks combined. Talk about fucking collusion. I don't know what it is, but Greg is definitely texting people and telling them when to start Zeke and when to not. The last week, in week 8, I think I started Zeke, and Greg messages me and is like, "Why are you starting Zeke?" Or maybe it was week 7. He says, "Why are you starting Zeke when you know I've been playing Pollard?" And then Zeke put up he put up 6.8 points in week 7. So, Greg, I see you. You're out here colluding. You're being sketchy as shit, and I don't like it. But Zeke
Man,
goes
he's
off.
really he's taking the Bill Belichick thing to the grave, huh? I mean, he's cheating, he's colluding,
He really is.
he's got it all.
He is the
He's even
he is
got a
the
Super Bowl. Look at him.
exactly. Once he turned to the evil empire, suddenly he can win championships. So good for him. We'll see if it works out, because the Patriots this year don't look too hot. Although they did get a big win last night because they played a very average quarterback. I hope Penn's listening. Wide receivers were absolutely shit this week. Tyreek Hill was your wide receiver 1 with 24 points. He was only played in Wisdom's lineup, and Wisdom's finishes in second. Ross was pedestrian with only 15 points. He was in 8 of 13 lineups, but I was deving Boyd this game, so I kind of avoided Ross. I ended up getting Boyd's dev, but that's why John Ross kind of disappointed. People that faded Ross this week, besides Wisdom, even though Ross only put up 15 points, Godwin put up 11, Chark was chosen with 5, and then Marquise Goodwin, for me, put up 0 fucking points. Fuck you, TBK. I hate you. You always decide not to throw to the guy that I pick, and it just pisses me off. I loved Goodwin. Goodwin was my star receiver in the last league when I had the Eagles, and I know how good he is, so I understand why he was cheesing him. But come on, 0 points? 0 points? Anyway, wide receivers were terrible this week. Pick a running back for your flex most weeks. That's all I got for week 9. I know you guys want me to get on to the results. Probably tired of me talking. This is week 10, so if you remember, week 10 was the start of our new rule. We had a rule that went in place, the John Ross rule, that made sure you couldn't pick the same player twice in a week. And as you'll see on the sheet here, somebody should be very familiar with that rule. Do you have any thoughts about who it would be?
Yeah, I do. Because
Who?
it's me. It's myself.
It is yourself. And tell the good people of Hard Knocks what happened in this week.
So this week I finished in a nice, I think, pretty easy first place. Yeah, easy first place. I had, let's see,
112 points.
Lineup? I had 3 players that were duplicates from the week before because I don't follow the rules, hence my suspension like 2 weeks ago. I had picked, who was it?
McDonald,
Journey, and Ross, and
Right.
all of those were in my lineup the week before. And so I won first place, but I was disqualified after that.
Yeah, so I was very grief-stricken because this week first place was Bossman with 91 points. Second place was me with 90 points. But until I figured out that you had violated that rule, I was very, very, very sad because I was in third place with 1 point, almost like Nick did, or exactly like Nick did in week 8. So I was very, very happy when I discovered that you were a dirty, no-good cheater, and I was actually second place because you violated the Ross rule. So thank you very much, Booty Muncher, for not being able to read rules correctly. I
Hey,
appreciate that.
ask my girlfriend. If there's one thing I'm good at, it's cheating.
That's good. That's good. To our wives and to our girlfriends, may they never meet. Week 10 had 7 players. Week 10 had 7 players. Was the downturn this week due to the player restrictions of the Ross rule?
I guarantee you it was because of the Ross rule. I didn't like it. I think a lot of people didn't like it. It ruffled the feathers a little, but people came back.
Yeah,
that week was a rough one.
They did. I think people were like, "What the fuck? I can't just throw Ross and Journey in my lineup. I'm not fucking doing this." Like, it's hard enough to get people to do it. Like, less than half the league doesn't take the chance to get +2 on their on any player.
Hey, it's a big risk. I mean, those 35 seconds. That's time wasted if you don't end up winning.
The 30 seconds that you need to post a fantasy lineup, you could just copy and paste somebody else and use a score breaker, but. Pick'ems routinely has twice the amount of people that play that than Fantasy does, and I don't understand it because the rewards are half as good, and there's twice as many players. You're like 400% more likely to win a reward playing Fantasy than you are in Pick'ems, which is why Fantasy is so much better than Pick'ems. Apart from the side that I run it rather than KK, so that's just another reason. Anyway, back to the results. The Wilson Hunt Hall Drake stack was what I got second with. And Boss Man, trust me, I checked the tiebreakers at least 6 times just to make sure that your ass didn't get 90 points instead, because I would have won the tiebreaker. So that's the most accurate 91 points that you're going to see this entire podcast.
Wait, who is Boss Man?
Oh, it's John. His Discord
yeah.
name is Boss Man, but it's John. It's the Jags user.
Oh yeah, I just know him as John.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I think once he let the hair loose and the bandana started flying on stream, I think people started referring to him as John more, but he was Boss Man to me. The one thing I like about John when it comes to fantasy is that he loves to do the contrarian plays. He loves to pick players that nobody else picks. He even commented on this, and I remember it from, I think, last season, maybe even from Madden 20, when he commented and said, "What fun is fantasy if you just pick the same players every week?" So I've always kind of respected his approach, because a lot of the weeks he'll score like 50 points because he's choosing these random-ass players. But this week he chose Philip Lindsay. I think he was the only one, or one of 2 people to pick Lindsay. Well, actually, 3 people picked Lindsay. He picked Lindsay first, and then other people copied him. Was like, "Oh, that's a good play." But he always goes out of his way to pick people that don't usually get played. So I applaud him for that. It works out this week. He gets the 1-point win over me because I did not have Philip Lindsay. I had Kenyon Drake, who put up 8 points for me, and that was a big disappointment. So good for him. Players of the week. Manny, it's your time to shine. It's your boy. Jake Luton was the number 1 quarterback, QB1 this week with 29 points. No, I'm just kidding. No.
Cole McDonald,
I'm
QB1.
Yeah, I read this wrong. Sorry, Manny, you actually can't pass. Cole McDonald had himself a day with 41 points. It's a good thing. This league does not count off for interceptions, so we don't take away 2 points for interceptions, and it's a good thing because Cole McDonald had 7 picks, but he still had 41 points because I guess Nick just decided that he wasn't going to run the ball this game. So that's what happened. QB2.
Well, if I could throw a little comment in there, I think I'm probably everyone in here, I'd imagine, except for Pin and Greg, actually watch football, from what I can tell. Luton, whatever his name is, he's been starting for the Jags lately. I get a little excited every time I see his name. I'd never heard of the guy until Emmanuel turned
exactly.
into a superstar, so
I agree. I find myself rooting for players that are fantasy relevant in Madden 21, but not in real life. So when I saw Luton starting for the Jags, I was like, "Fuck yeah, let's go, Luton!" It's my new favorite quarterback. I find myself rooting for the Bengals now, which is like really sad. But like, I want them to do well. Is anybody else?
I have to root for the Bengals because Joe Burrow is my Lord and Savior.
Exactly. So I like Joe Burrow a lot because I consider him my son almost. I consider his success a part of my success. So this game where McDonald throws 7 picks was actually against you, Booty. It was against you. And Nick threw 35 times, and he ran 8 times.
Are you sure?
Yeah. Oh well, no, never mind. It was against Vikings. Against
yeah.
I get y'all confused because you were the Vikings. Never mind.
Yeah.
Russell was QB2 this week. I'll give you one guess to guess who was the player, his opponent.
G Wisdom, our guy.
It was G Wisdom. Yes, it was G Wisdom. Again, no surprise here. Nice matchup pick for people who picked Russ this week. We've talked about his inconsistencies. He has great games. He has dud games. This was one of the good games for this season. I want to talk about collusion again. KK, you drafted a quarterback even though you already had, I'm pretty sure, a superstar quarterback. Like, wasn't Dwayne Haskins a superstar quarterback? Or was he just his captain?
He must have just been the captain, and I know he only had 89 throw power, which is kind of ridiculous.
He was a star. Yeah, because he has a huge cannon. Like, I went to Ohio State. He has a huge cannon. I watched all of his games. He was a good quarterback in college. But he drafted a quarterback, Dylan McCaffrey, and he hasn't had much passing success this season. I would argue to say that he has had, like, no passing success. 70.8 rating, 26 touchdowns to 42 picks. But this week, Explosive Squirts had some fucking insider information. Because Dylan McCaffrey goes off for 35 points this week, and Explosive Squirts played him in a lineup.
Oh, no. TBK played him. Explosive Squirts.
You're right. TBK had the NEC East insider info. It's division opponent helping division opponent, which is not always bad. I will just, a disclaimer there. A division opponent helping another person out is a friendly, gentlemanly gesture, and it's not always a bad thing.
Division pride, we exercise that down here in the South.
You're goddamn right. AFC North is the best division. I don't know why TBK picked McCaffrey this week against Explosive Squirts, who is a pretty solid user, but he did, and I demand a fucking investigation. But he went off for 35 points and was QB3 this week. Luton was 29 points and Burrow was 27. They were okay. Moving on. This week, Journey was back, baby. That little hiccup he had against the Chiefs the week before was officially over. 37 points. Only played in 2 lineups, though, and one of those was your lineup that was disqualified. So only one person had Journey's 37 points this week because everyone blew their load on him in Week 9 for his 15 points. That's the first example that we had of the Ross rule really fucking up people and helping out people who didn't pick him in the previous week. His matchup was much better against Sib in Week 10 as opposed to Week 9 when he was against the Chiefs. The new system kind of rewards planning ahead. You know, if you look and you see that somebody has a juicy matchup next week, don't play him this week. Find somebody else, you know, and that's something that people didn't really have to do, that strategy that I think we're going to start seeing coming into play next season as we continue to do this and actually get these out on time. So just watch out for that. Number 2, running back 2, was Kareem Hunt. He got it done running and passing for 23 points. I think I played him this week. I did. I played him in my lineup. I loved his matchup against you, actually, because your defense was...
It was the Vikings.
Against Vikings! Just kidding!
His defense is also trash,
yeah,
though,
Jay
so
Stopper's also trash. Jay Stopper's defense is okay. I actually played him a couple weeks ago, and I thought his defense was fine. But I did wait to pick him in Week 10 because I knew that just the Vikings team wasn't that good. But I was the only one who played Kareem Hunt. He ended up being running back number 2 and basically running back number 1 because no one else could play Journey Brown. Nothing much else worth noting. Lindsey had 19. Taylor had 15, which is kind of quiet. Kenyon Drake was a bust with 8 points in 4 lineups. And that's about it for running backs. Wide receivers, this group was interesting because this was the first week where the Ross rule wrecked the wide receiver position and the lineups. We finally had some disparity. 0 valid lineups had John Ross in it. The only one that had it was yours. Nobody else played John Ross. Hall was wide receiver. I know. Emmanuel Hall was wide receiver 1, but he only had 16 points, and he was in 4 lineups. I think that was a remnant of people relying on him being good last season. But this was a bad week for wide receivers.
And DK Metcalf is one that frustrates a lot of people. Him and Tyler Lockett, they are almost identical, except that Metcalf has doubled his touchdowns this year compared to Lockett. But with those, it's the Russell Wilson problem, you know, when Jafar has all that time in the world to be dancing around in the backfield, and then just throwing it up. Those are
I
your
know.
days you'll be lucky. But
Uh, I know that the Seahawks wide receivers were just it's hard to trust the Seahawks wide receivers because like you said, it's either Lockett or it's Metcalf, and it's never both, and you never know which one is going off. But Metcalf has 10 touchdowns and 1,200 yards, but it's probably in like 4 games where he gets all of that.
yeah,
So this week he was picked in a lineup and he had 2 points. Other players that got picked instead of Ross because people couldn't pick him were Julio, who had 8 points, and Michael Thomas to 11 points. I would like to welcome every other fantasy player in HK to my world because I don't get to pick Ross any week. So this is the pile of shit that you have to pick from at the wide receiver position. I hope you enjoy it every other week. I was really interested the first week of the Ross rule to see what these lineups would look like, and they were pretty unique. We had 5 different QBs chosen across 7 lineups: Luton, Burrow, McDonald, Russ, and McCaffrey. We had 6 different running backs picked: Evans for the Titans, who is not good; Drake, Hunt, Taylor, Journey, and Philip Lindsay. A lot of those guys we haven't seen a lot of before. Evans and kind of Drake and Philip Lindsay specifically. And then for wide receivers, of course, I don't think I saw. Maybe saw Thomas once or twice when I picked him. Julio was absolutely his first pick this season. Metcalf, who pops up here and there. But really, we saw some good disparity. So I really liked how the first week played out. All right. We are going to move on to week number 11. We are halfway done with the results here. Week number 11, we have one screenshot. All right. Week number 11. In second place, we have KK with Lamar, Journey, Breida, and Lockett. In first place, we have Istine with 99 points. So again, scoring is down. So the week before we instituted the Ross rule, we saw 121 and 126. Week 10, with the Ross rule, we saw 90, 91. And then this week, we saw 90 and 99 as your winning numbers. So the points are definitely down. And that's kind of a factor when it comes to the Ross rule. You see that effect taking place.
yeah, and I would say that's. I mean, obviously the reason the rule is put in place is to kind of, I guess, corral these lineups, some
Exactly. Exactly.
get rid of some of this predictability. I guess you would say.
Exactly.
My dog is about to like take a dump on herself. I might have to take a little break and go take her outside.
Totally understandable. Totally understandable. So in first place, we had Istine with the Burrow, Ross, Taylor, Kamara stack, and all of them had over 20 points. Nobody really went crazy, but very nice, consistent lineup for him. For QB1, we had Brady against, again, Wisdom, against Sib, the Giants. I was the only person to play Brady this week. Again, you see the Giants or I see the Lions against a decent passer. I am throwing that quarterback into my fucking lineup. Darius might disappear every once in a while, but he's going to show up when it comes to these bad users, bad defensive users. So I was throwing him in my lineup all day. Burrow was QB2 this week with only 21 points. I scored 3 touchdowns with my running backs this week. I was trying to feed Zamir White and mix in a little bit, which cut into Burrow's usual numbers. Other disappointments at the QB position include Lamar Jackson, who was in 2 lineups. He had 15 points, and Cole McDonald, who also had 15 in only 2 lineups. Running backs, very average week across the board. Nobody really popped off for one of those big 35-plus gains that we've seen. Breida and Kamara tie for running back 1 this week. Breida against N-Twin, the Panthers user, for 24 points, helped KK get second place. Kamara, Manny throwing those angle routes really pay off. We know this. Only Istine picked him, and he wins the week because he has Kamara. So once again, finding that nugget, finding that diamond in the rough that no one else is picking has been a very good strategy across the board this year. And I would highly recommend people try to look for people who aren't played by every single lineup, because if everyone picks the same player, everyone gets those points, and you're not breaking ahead of other players. Journey was only in 2 lineups this week, and he had 22 points. I was a little surprised he was only in 2 because seemingly everyone used him in week 9. But he was only in 2, and then Jonathan Taylor had 20 points in 3 lineups. Philip Lindsay was in 2 lineups and only had 1 point, so I don't know what the hell Johnny Sins was doing. Fournette only had 8 points. He was in 3 lineups. Nick Chubb for the Ravens had 3 points in 2 lineups. And Zeke, once again, back to his inconsistency in 1 lineup with 8 points for Greg. Was Week 11 the Manny game? Was that what it was? Let's check to see. I bet it was the Manny game. I bet Manny knows. I bet he has it like circled and framed in his. Oh no, it wasn't. Well, wait. Who did he play that he had 8 points with Zeke? Oh, it was KK. Poor KK. Look at you stopping Zeke. Good for you, buddy. That's a win. I'm chalking it up. Back to wide receivers. That's it for the running back position. John Ross is back. Keep playing John Ross. He's wide receiver 1. 22 points. Tied with Lockett, actually, for 22 points. Once again, Lockett is fucking hot and cold. I can never play this guy because of how autistic Jabbar is. He can either throw to Metcalf or Lockett for 170 and 2, or for 1 catch. I'm not. I will never start a Seahawks receiver again.
Yeah, I think a lot of people have developed that same strategy.
Exactly.
You give up on them.
Exactly.
You lose faith.
Technically, I mean, he was wide receiver 1 this week. He was tied for wide receiver 1. So good job, Jabbar, for remembering how to not run in circles and just throw the ball downfield. Other wide receivers chosen, Rondell Moore. I hope I'm pronouncing that right because I know it's not Moore because that's not how it looks. And I know John would be mad at me if I called him something different. So Rondell Moore. 6 points in only 1 lineup. Marquise Goodwin, again for TBK, another disappointing week with 5 points in 1 lineup. Metcalf was in 2 lineups, had 7 points. And then Jamar Chase, who I have played a couple times this season, had 12 points.
What roster is he even on?
He's the Dolphins. He's Slick's rookie wide receiver. He drafted him number 3 overall, actually. Yeah, Moray. That's right. Jags gives us the phonetic spelling. Moray in the chat. Thank you, John, for that. Jamar Chase. So when I played Slick in week like 6 or whatever it was, I noticed he was absolutely feeding the ball to Chase. Like he was like giving it on that. You know that jet sweep toss play that people run with their wide receiver out of the shotgun that everyone fucking runs. He was doing that. He was throwing bubble screens. He was throwing posts and corners to him. He was just feeding him, and I really thought that Jamar Chase was going to go off this season, and it never really developed. But that's why I've chosen him a couple times because I really just expected better of Slick this season, but foolish of me.
He's had a lot of games not played. Not really sure what's been going on with him. Maybe at the Dolphins actually being a half decent team. You know,
is he not playing the games?
I checked his schedule. He's missed a few. Like it looked like at least 4.
Oh yeah, he home force the Falcons. Well, he gets the force against the Bills. And then no, he gets the force. So there's only been 1 game.
Oh, so yeah, that's
or 2
just
games.
Due to
2 games.
Is it Willie that's the Bills that he's been gone for whatever reason? So I guess that's where
yeah. I think he's from New Orleans, so I think he's having hurricane problems, which is unfortunate. And prayers up to everyone out there who's struggling with the hurricanes and stuff. It's never good. I was actually born in New Orleans myself, so I have a little affinity for the area, and I know how tough it is. So hearts out to those that are affected by the hurricanes. Yeah, so that's it. That's week 11. Once again, we had KK second place, 90 points, and Istine in first place with the +2 with 99 points. All right.
In week 12, might I just say, before we get started on week 12, that even a broken clock is right twice a day.
Even a broken clock is right twice a day. You're absolutely right, because would you like to announce the winners for week 12?
In second place was Emmanuel, 111 points. No one really cares about that. But first place was me with 120 points, winning with Luton, Journey, Ross, and Drake. Pretty elite lineup right there.
Luton.
120 points is Luton is how I heard the ESPN guys say it.
It's definitely Luton. It's definitely Luton.
Okay,
That's what
yeah.
I've heard that several times.
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
Manny
no
just
one
pronounces
knows
it. Manny just pronounces it goat, which is actually incorrect. He's actually saying burrow when he says that, but that is how he pronounces it. Interesting thing about Manny, he beats out Johnny for second by 1 point. Again, it comes down to those the manual tiebreakers that I have to do. Manny always seems to pick Locke. He loves to pick Drew Lock. I think out of the past season and a half that we've done fantasy, I guess 2 seasons now, no one has picked Drew Lock more than Manny.
And that
So
must be a shout out of respect to my boy Johnny Sins.
I
I mean,
guess.
Drew Lock's having a half decent season, 3,400, 33, and 23. I mean, that's nothing
Yeah,
crazy, but I
he
guess
has
Manny
games.
knows something we don't.
He has games where he does very well, but then he'll have games where he just runs the whole game or he just throws picks. So he's very up and down, Johnny Sins. But he doesn't. His turnover ratio isn't that bad apparently. What you say, 33 and 23 or something like that?
33, 23, yeah. And I will return shortly. My dog is literally like scratching at the door. I gotta go. I'll be right back.
Understood, understood. So respect to Manny for picking Lock when no one else does, but it actually hurts Johnny Sins. Johnny Sins actually causes himself to lose this week because Drew Lock does so well. The number one lineup was Booty Muncher with Luton, Journey, Ross, and Drake. No surprise there with Journey and Ross. Those are a very common stack for winning lineups in the weeks to come. Um, for QB, Jake Luton was actually the number one QB this week, QB1 with 27 points, played in two lineups. This was the Greg game. This was the game where Manny came out and he took out his schlong and he smacked it across Greg. He basically broke Greg. He basically made Greg not be able to play Madden anymore. I don't know what happened, but Greg rattled off 3 straight losses. I think he threw 7 picks the next game against Danny, who I just clobbered. I don't. Manny, what did you do to him? Did you you put like a hex on him? Did you like do some voodoo witch magic? Did you like pop him in the knees with a pistol or something? Like I don't know. It's really sad to see. But he came out ready to make a statement after taking that L in the playoffs last year, and he said, you know what, Jake Luton does not have 64 overall anymore. He's improved a lot. It shows, and I'm going to come out and I'm going to show the league who's boss. And he's 14 and 0. So props to him. QB1. QB2 was Drew Lock, 25 points only in Manny's lineup. He's 1 point better than Burrow this week, and that's why Manny gets the 1 point second place victory over Johnny Sins, who I believe had Burrow, who had 24 points, good for QB3. He's always a good choice. This game, Cole McDonald actually got hurt. He was a very underwhelming performance for two players because of that injury. I think De'Aaron King was the backup that had to come in for the Browns, but McDonald didn't get to play the whole game, and it really hurt two people. Wilson was average. TBK went out and picked McCaffrey again for the second time, and this time, sadly for TBK, it did not work out because it turns out that KK is not good at passing still. So 13 points for young McCaffrey in a very underwhelming performance for TBK. Better luck next time. For running back, RB1, I don't even need to really announce it because everyone knows that Journey Brown has 39 points in an absolute shootout with TBK. The guy just gets fed over and over and over. It's actually impressive how hard it is to stop him because everyone knows what he's going to do and he still does it. Kamara was RB2 with 32 points. He was only played in one lineup, but the angle route is reigning supreme over Greg all day, every day in this game. I think most of the league watched this game and just saw how fucking open Kamara was on every play. Kamara was the beginning, the middle, and the end of Manny's offense this week, and he puts up 32 points. Akers, Cam Akers. So Manny likes to start Cam Akers. Did he start him this week? No, he did not, but somebody else did. Who did? It was Joe. Joe Steck started Akers this week. Nice to see the rookie come out with a 3-touchdown performance, 31 points. I like seeing Akers get in there. I know he's become a more popular choice as the weeks come on, especially this week. Manny is super hype about him being the only person to have Akers, so good for him. Very interesting. No one chose Jonathan Taylor this week. No one chose Jonathan Taylor. He ran for 140 yards and 3 touchdowns, good for 32 points. So maybe you should think about starting Jonathan Taylor. I don't know. He's very good. He gets fed the ball. He was good for RB2, tied for RB2 with Kamara. Disappointments this week. JP, what the hell? 8 lineups had Kenyon Drake. 8 lineups, and he puts up 11 points. 11 points for Drake in 8 lineups. That's massive. I don't know why everyone was like, ooh, let's pick Kenyon Drake. Who did he play in week 12? It's Star. Oh, I should have known. I just should have known. So I have a lot of stuff written down for this. A lot of stats and stuff. I did not have that. That's the third time this has happened where it just happens to be Dar that the breakout performance happens against, or that everyone's picking them against. I'm sorry, Dar. We need to stop picking on you. You're a nice guy, but there's no Kang out there. Kang Henry is dead, so everyone's picking you to get destroyed in fantasy. Zeke goes for 11 points. People are still picking Evans, the Kang's replacement. He puts up 4 points. I have no idea why people are still choosing him. Probably because I haven't posted the lineups in a while, so nobody knows that he's been sucking. They just say, ooh, whoever the fuck Dar has as running back, he's going to pop off. No, he's not. He only got 4 points. He sucks. He's not King Henry. That's that. And then Breida is in 2 lineups, and he has 7 points. Again, slick. Get your shit together. He has 97 speed. Wide receivers. Y'all want to guess? I'll give the chat some time to guess who wide receiver 1 was this week. Does anybody have any idea who might have been wide receiver 1? Going once, going twice. That's right. That's right. It's John Ross. It's John Ross. 32 points. He's in 7 lineups. He's undeniable. I should stop throwing it to him in even-numbered weeks because everybody plays him. In Week 10, Week 12, Week 14, Week 16. First week of the playoffs, if we still do fantasy, you can't stop the man. He's an instant start for half the league every week that they're available. Start John Ross. He is your wide receiver 1. Wide receiver 2 is Hall, Emmanuel Hall, 23 points for the Chargers. He was in 3 lineups. I'm guessing those are the 3 lineups that couldn't play John Ross because he picked him last week. He's not the same player he was last year. He's still an okay option, but he's just not the same. I mean, who the fuck else is Ilstein going to throw to? I don't know. Probably the other team. But Hall is a close second, a close second behind the other team's defenders of who Isteen is going to try to throw to each game. Other wide receivers that were chosen, we had Terry McLaurin. Yeah, chat loves the jokes. Terry McLaurin, he was cited. He was started in a lineup for the first time I've seen in a while, but he only put up 5 points. Rondale Moray for 10 points, and then Tyreek Hill for 17. He goes off every now and again. But yeah. KK says clamps on Kamara. I'm guessing did KK play him this week? No, I think are we in 13? No, we're still in week 12. That's next week, KK. You're getting a little ahead of yourself. Who did Kamara play this week? No. What are you talking about? We already talked about him. He had 32 points. Are you drunk? God, go away. All right, that's it for Week 12. Now we can talk about Week 13. Let me post the lineups here. Sorry, I am trying to find a picture. There we go. All right, there's Week 13. In second place, we have John with 97 points, and your boy, yours truly, the Jern Master, the fantasy god, the OG, the Burrow boy, 104 points, I think. Yeah, 104 points. Me with the dub. Very happy to see myself return to the victory column of the fantasy season. And I'll tell you why. I will tell you why Jern Daddy gets the win this week. I was the only person to pick Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes had 50 fucking points. 50 points for young Patrick. I was the only player to play him. You know what happened? I saw the Chiefs was playing Joe. Joe's tanking. Joe doesn't play defense. The Chiefs passes the ball. He's got Hill and he's got Mecole. The guy throws for 511 yards and 5 fucking touchdowns. I was so happy when I saw this. When I opened up the box score for that game and I saw that he had 511 yards and 5 touchdowns, I was like, thank you so much, Logan, for actually having the balls to pass the ball. So he scored half my points. 50 of my 104 points. My roster sucked the rest of the way. Who did I have? I had Journey Brown, 23 points. Goodwin put up 3.1, and my kicker put up 5. I got bailed. Here because everyone else sucked. Russ was QB number 2. He had 30 points in 3 lineups. Squirt got his ass whooped. He told me he was a self-proclaimed king of the West, and he's out here getting beat by Jabbar. I don't know what's up with that. I don't know what's up with that. I really don't. Joe Burrow was actually disappointing this week in Week 13. He had 14 points. He was in 3 lineups. Who did I play? Was this? Oh, this was against Jay Stopper. Yeah, this was a very quick game. We both ran the ball a lot, and I got a defensive touchdown, which got the ball out of Burrow's hands. So he was disappointing. Dak was chosen, and then throws 7 picks against Danny, so that's fun. You can thank Manny for that one because he absolutely broke Greg's spirit to live. Um, Running backs, Jonathan Taylor popped off 37 points. He actually got picked this week by 2 lineups. But thankfully for everyone else, including me, who won the week, he was only in 2 lineups, and the people that picked him busted at every other position, basically. So his 37 points actually don't become too fantasy relevant this week. Journey Brown is in 5 of lineups. He scores 23. Breida scores 21, good for RB3. But he's only in 1 lineup. That's John Johns, who came in second. And then Kamara was tied for RB3 in 3 lineups with 21 points, including mine, who got the win. So big thank you to Manny for cheesing those angles. I appreciate it. Zeke, oh no, we suck again. 3 points in 2 lineups, and then Cam Akers is in 1 lineup, and he scores 9 points. I'm guessing it's Manny. Yeah, it was Manny. Manny picks Akers. Manny loves to pick Akers. He does not work out for him this week. So I know we've talked a lot of shit about Jabbar. A lot of shit about Jabbar. But this week, wide receiver 1 was DK Metcalf. He was in 2 lineups. People, like, once again, people pinpoint the needle in the haystack. They always pick him when he does well, and then they never pick him when he doesn't, except for me, who always picks Metcalf whenever he doesn't do well. So he scores wide receiver 1 with only 19 points because John Ross had a disappointing day because I didn't pass the ball, apparently.
All right, what week we in? Daddy's back.
13. We're in week 13, sir. We're cruising through.
Nice.
We talked about Patrick Mahomes' God game of 50 points that only me picked, and I ended up getting the first place finish this week with 104 points because of Patrick
Jesus
Mahomes' 50
Christ.
points. Yeah, it was crazy.
How'd you see that one coming? Were you going strictly matchup based?
Yeah, he was playing Joe, who's tanking. So yeah.
Nice. That was a nice call by you.
Thanks. Yeah, it pays to pay attention. Michael Thomas, wide receiver 2 this week, only played in John John's lineup. 15 points. Once again, finding that needle in the haystack. Who knew that Manny could pass to anyone besides Alvin Kamara? I didn't. But apparently John John did, and he picked out the right player this week. Disappointments all over this position this week. John Ross was in 2 lineups. He had 13 points. Brandon Cooks of your team, 6 points. Goodwin with 3 points, and then Emmanuel Hall 6 points, and DJ Moore 4 points.
We've got breaking news.
What's that?
Sorry, I know that there's only 2 people listening right now who actually care about this, other than myself. The Bucks just acquired former All-Star Drew Holiday from the Pelicans for George Hill, Eric Bledsoe, and 3 first-round picks. Wow,
Who did?
that's big news.
Who
The
did?
Bucks.
Oh, Milwaukee Bucks. I thought it was like the Tampa Bay
sorry.
Buccaneers acquired basketball
sorry,
players. That's
guys.
kind of strange.
Sorry, guys. A little basketball news for your day is it? Monday night?
I guess that would be relevant if this was the 2K fantasy podcast, but it's not. So shut the fuck up. So at this point, everyone in the season has pretty much started staying away from starting more than one receiver. I think people have realized that the flex 2RB system is the way to go because after Ross, who would you really feel comfortable with starting week to week at the receiver position?
Alvin Kamara, yeah. You heard that, right?
You can't start him at the receiver position. That's the problem. But if you could, I'm sure he would probably be at least wide receiver 3 each week.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's the problem. Honestly, well, I couldn't do that, but Cooks, I feel like, is the second go-to guy lately.
Right. Yeah, no, he's definitely...
no one else has been really consistent, so it's tough. I mean, you've got the Seahawks brothers that, you can't rely on. You've got Rondale, who, he's kind of the same. Him and Chark, you never know.
Maore.
Yeah, I don't even.
Yeah, I mean, if you look, if you pull up the receiver position, and keep in mind Cooks has an extra game here, so I haven't had my John Ross game this week. You have Brandon Cooks, number 2 in yards, number 2 in touchdowns. Maore is up there. Hill is up there. Julio Jones somehow is up there, even though I'm not even sure the Falcons guy plays. And then DJ Moore with 1,300 yards and 14 touchdowns. Michael Thomas actually has 17 touchdowns. I don't know when the fuck they're happening because every time I see him, he doesn't get shit.
I haven't seen this.
When does this happen?
Gregory wanted me to throw in a little word for him. He said that Amari or CD are reliable. I'm not seeing that. Let me go check out
I
those
had to scroll.
stats.
Amari has 851 yards and 10 touchdowns. Please get out.
Oh
He's just
wow, yeah.
CD's even worse with 7 touchdowns and 839 yards. And maybe they would be reliable if I was trying to start a losing fantasy team. But try again, Mr. Greggy, because you're trash and you throw 7 picks against fucking Danny. All right, that is about wraps it up for week 13. We are now entering our last week, and guys, we have a very interesting result here. Uh, the winner of this week actually played a player that they played the previous week and had their points canceled, and still won by 8 points. That person is Explosive Squirts. Explosive Squirts is your Week 14 winner with 106 points, even with an ineligible DK Metcalf, partly because DK Metcalf's ineligible points were only 30 fucking yards for 3 points, so it didn't really matter anyway. Even if he got the points, it still would have been a blowout. Joe Steck comes in second again. I think Joe Steck, this is like his 7th time coming in second since we started doing fantasy last season. He always finishes second. It's really weird. So, but he has 98 points, finishes second. Barely beats out Johnny Sins for second place by 2 points. I think this is the second time that Johnny Sins misses second place by like a point or two. So that was fun. Once again, Burrow Ross is the way to go. Two players that finish first and second have the Burrow Ross stack. Players of the week, Joey B was absolutely popping off this week with 43 points, and I will say it's a little unfair. Do you know why it's unfair?
It's unfair because this is when we could start changing the abilities, and he's got Omaha.
This is when we could start changing the abilities. With the new patch allowing us to change abilities, Joey B is an X Factor. He's 90 plus on everything, which means this man now has Hot Route Master. He now has Omaha. He has Gunslinger. He's basically God's gift to quarterbacking. Pocket Deadeye, clutch for home games. He's a fucking beast. And this week, he absolutely popped off for 43 points because I was going out there
Who was
against.
that against?
Who was that against? That's a good question. Danny. It was against Danny. No.
Wow.
No. It wasn't against Danny. That was the wrong week. Let me see. Who did I just play?
Yeah, there's no way Danny gave up that kind of game.
I mean, I beat Danny 30. Oh, it was the Chiefs. It was the Chiefs user. So I put up 42 in the first half. Like he got lit up with X Factor Omaha in the first half. So I was just every time he was running cover 2, I could see it. Anytime he was running cover 4, I could see it. And it was like taking candy from a baby. 43 points for the league's QB MVP in 2 lineups. This shit's stupid. Fuck EA for this change. It's so dumb. It's literally mud out here. I don't know about anybody else. I'm going to abuse the shit out of it while I can, but I'm not happy about it. It makes the game almost unfun because of how goddamn good Joey B is. QB2 with a far less commanding 26 points, 17 points less than QB1, the GOAT Joey Burrow, was Jake Luton. He was only played in 1 lineup. 2 people picked Cole McDonald this week, who was hurt and didn't play. So that was fun. And
Wait,
then
was he hurt or was he suspended? Was that the week that he was suspended?
Oh, that's right, because Nick breaks rules because he can't play fair, and then he gets mad. Yeah,
Yeah, he was
right.
raging big
No,
time.
I
That was
can't talk
awesome.
shit. I'm actually supposed to play him in like 10 minutes. I didn't get to watch any film. Fuck. Anyway, he gets picked in 2 lineups, even though he was suspended. Editor's edit there. I went out on a limb and I picked Lamar against. I guess it was J Stopper, but I keep mixing that up, so it was probably against you. Who did the Ravens play this week, week 14?
I haven't played.
No,
Ravens since last
it
week.
was J Stopper. It was J Stopper. And I paid the price because Lamar was trash. Because Mikey, I guess, found out that I picked Lamar and decided to tank me. I guess in retribution of me getting him reprimanded by the league office
Man,
because he just.
y'all gotta stop sleeping on Deshaun Watson's awakening. I mean, this guy is
Oh,
he's a fantasy asset.
people in week 15, I think, have started to pick it up, and people are starting Watson. So I do think that the times are a changing, and people are starting to pick him. I know Johnny Sins picked him in week 14. He put up 24 points, which was not
Yeah,
good
not bad.
for. It was okay. It wasn't as good as Joey B's 43, but it was pretty good.
Right, of course.
Of course, of course. Running back, Jonathan Taylor. This kind of a disappointment. Nobody really popped off. Jonathan Taylor with 21 points in 2 lineups. Kamara with 21 points in 2 lineups, tied for RB1. Journey was in 2 lineups with 12 points. Who did he play? Why did he get locked down?
Journey, who locked him up? Was that the Chiefs guy?
The Patriots. Wait. Mike beat Isteen? Isteen, is this true? Isteen, did you lose to Mike in week 14? The, uh, the fuck?
Had
Oh
to be
my
a
god.
sim. Mike's been missing.
Bruh, Mike, you lost to some dude on a milk carton? Wow, I gotta put you on a milk carton. Anyway, Journey had 12 points in 2 lineups. Drake had 13 points in 2 lineups, and Fournette had 11 points in a lineup. Yeah, don't use a different playbook. That's dumb. Once again, anybody want to guess who wide receiver one this week? Oh yeah, it's John Ross. 32 points, baby. 4 lineups. Like I said, I should really stop playing him so hard in even numbered weeks when everybody plays him. Because week 12 he popped off, week 10 he popped off, week 14 he popped off. But he hasn't been popping off in the odd number of weeks when nobody plays him, so I think I'm going to start fading him. I'll probably end up losing to Nick on purpose tonight, just to keep people from scoring with John Ross. No one else can hold John Ross's jockstrap. I don't even need to name a wide receiver 2 because everyone is just bad. Lockett's trash. Metcalf is trash. Cooks is trash. Hall is trash. Nobody can hold a candle to John Ross, the boss.
Now, that is just insane.
Well, this week, sir, it's true because I don't see Cook's 12.7 standing up to John Ross's 32. I don't see Tyler Lockett's 4.3 standing up to John Ross's 32. I don't
No
see
arguing that.
I don't see Metcalf's
Can't
3
say that-
points
yeah,
standing
can't-
up.
Can't argue with that,
I
for sure.
Maore's going to the fucking bench in the playoffs because he's getting a first round exit when he has to play me. So, oh wait,
Emmanuel says Fuller over Ross, and I have to agree. I mean, I think both of these Texans receivers.
I don't know about that one, buddy. I don't know about
yeah.
that one, buddy. I don't know
yeah.
about that one. But yeah, that's it. So to recap, we are done with the weeks. I'm sorry it took so long because we had 8 weeks to get through because Mikey ghosted me. The Colluders Corner was delayed because of him. Blame him. But thankfully, Booty was nice enough to jump on here with me. Week 7, first place was Joe Steck, second place Manny. Week 8, first place Sib, second place Isteen. Week 9, Johnny Sins, first place, second place Wisdom. Week 10, John first, me second, Jern second. Week 11 was Isteen with his first place victory and KK in second. Week 12 was Booty Muncher in first and Manny in second. Week 13 was Jern in first and John in second. And then week 14 was Explosive Squirts in first and Joe Steck in second. So those are your fantasy results. So everybody can stop fucking posting. Oh, shut the fuck up. Where's 15? Suck my cock. Suck my absolute fat donkey cock. That's bullshit. I will post 15 sometime later this week. Probably, I'm not going to do a podcast every week, even though this is clearly much better than other podcasts. But, ladies and gentlemen, we're not done. The podcast is not over. You might have thought.
Sid, he made a comment. I don't know. While I was gone, did you get to the sleepers yet?
We have not talked about sleepers yet, and Sib, your time is coming. Do not fret. But before we get to sleepers, we're going to talk about rookies. And so, like, one of the things I wanted to highlight was I wanted to talk about whose rookies are doing well and whose rookies are not doing well. And we're going to go position by position, kind of going by key picks here, talking about stats. Shut up, Mikey. No one cares what you think. You ghost the best podcast HK has ever had. No one wants to hear your opinions. Everyone downvote Mikey's post. Everyone just downvote Mikey's post. Just please. Just downvote his post. Give him the thumbs down reaction. This is still going, KK. We're not done. I have a lot of content planned here. Unlike you guys who just fucking roll in all willy-nilly thinking you're just going to create great content without pre-writing jokes. Fuck off. Number 1 for the rookies. Everyone knows we had Trevor Lawrence, round 1, pick 5. Fell to you, Booty. You got to pick Trevor Lawrence at pick 5, and then you traded your team. What was going on with that?
Yeah, so somehow Trevor Lawrence fell to me. I was excited about it. I threw with him a few times in training and wasn't really feeling him. I had been trying to trade with J-Stop for a while, trade teams, and then there was a early season ownership on both teams. They came together. They
Mm.
realized that it
Mm.
was only best for both franchises to move on. So they made a trade, coach for coach, and now I'm down in Houston. Trevor Lawrence, he's having I wouldn't call it a good season, but
I
glad
would
to see
call it
he's
a very
still in the
bad
seat.
season.
Yeah.
When I wrote the podcast stats, he had 3,400 yards, 18 touchdowns, and 43 picks. He now has 19 touchdowns and 46 picks. So he's even
So
worse.
yeah,
Uh,
it's very fair to say been a bad season.
like he's very good. Wait, why is he not X Factor?
Uh,
Okay, that seems sus. Anyway, so rookie number 2 for the quarterback position, Justin Fields was round 1, pick 8, and he's actually had a good season. The 49ers user, Frank B, is actually having a very good season with him. I watched the most recent game he had today, and he actually threw some dots. So I liked that pick. I think he's going to become a good player. Rookie number 3, which really surprised me and which we already talked about, was Dylan McCaffrey, who's actually had an okay season by KK standards. I wouldn't expect KK to pass much better than he is. It looks like he just had a game where he threw 3 touchdowns and no picks. KK, can you confirm? 3 touchdowns, no picks in a single game? Who did you play? It must have been Dar. It must have been Dar.
it had to be our boy right out of his division.
I don't know who it was, and I don't care to check because people are getting tired of the podcast. But yeah, McCaffrey is having an okay season. We'll see if he can actually dev him up and make him somewhat decent. He's a 73 overall, but he has 98 throw power. That seems sus. Can somebody please check to see how many times KK has edited Dylan McCaffrey? I'm sure it's at least 7,000. Uh, Rookie surprise of the year was Trey fucking Lance with the Falcons. I don't know who this guy is, and I don't know if he used
So
his. Did he use his
okay,
team
so
captain?
no, fun fact about Trey Lance. This guy is the guy that I thought the pick that I took Trevor Lawrence with. I fully expected to end up having to take Trey Lance. Guy's out of North Dakota State. I think that's where Carson Wentz went. He's a stud. He's actually got 94 throw power in the
Yeah,
game, and I'm
94.
pretty sure he was a superstar when he was drafted. He's a beast.
Oh,
I had
what
an
a
eye on
find!
him. I
Oh,
really wanted him.
what a find for the Falcons user. I
Yeah,
wonder if he even picked him himself or just got lucky. But
probably got
that,
lucky. He fell to the
prob-
second round
I
though.
mean, I haven't seen a Falcons user in this league in quite a while, so yeah. Rookie number 5 I have is Felipe Franks. Squirts, who was having a better season with him before I started this podcast. I had the stats written down as 3,394 yards, 23 touchdowns, and 35 picks. And he just had a game where he threw 5 picks and no touchdowns. So get it together, Squirts. I thought you were the king of the West. I thought we were supposed to be kings together, and you're out here disappointing me. But yeah,
Shout
Felipe
out to my
Franks.
boy Squirts, by the way. He's got me week 17. We all know my
Ooh,
defense. I think I've given up over 40 points like 6 weeks running, so keep an
wow,
eye on him.
nice.
Fantasy managers.
Gotcha. Well, week 16 is already closed, but good to know. Oh, next week. Oh, okay. You're giving hints out here. All right. Well, let's cool it down on the hints. All right. We're trying to keep this proprietary. And then finally, this rookie was a 7th round pick, was he not? 7th round pick, number 10 overall, Mikhail Cunningham. I don't know if that was his name when he was drafted, but the Panthers
Yeah, I've
user
never
and
heard of
twin.
that guy.
Yeah, Panther actually like honestly super solid. He only has 87 throw power and he's only star dev, but he's thrown 26 picks or 26 touchdowns and 28 interceptions. So very very good for him. I didn't know that he was the quarterback that was starting until I watched a Panthers stream and I was like, who the hell is that? And apparently
Yeah,
he's a
I'm not
rookie.
too familiar with the Panthers user, but I think he's actually pretty good, if I'm not mistaken. But
Hmm.
I wouldn't really know.
Yeah, I think he's all right. I wouldn't say he's good, but I'm very quick to call people shitty if I don't think they're good. Rookie running backs. There's 3 above the rest, and everyone knows who number 1 is. Journey Brown is absolutely insane. 1,800 yards, 23 touchdowns. We've talked about him enough. We're going to move on. Number 2, Eagles. Kenneth Gainwell. I don't know who this guy is or where he came from, but he is a normal dev guy. 93 speed, but TBK is using the hell out of him for 944 yards and 16 touchdowns. Have you watched this guy?
I have never heard of this guy until just now.
I
So
didn't either. I didn't either. Y'all are welcome to like turn the stream off if you don't want to keep watching it. I mean,
No
I
one's
personally
forcing you.
love I
No one's
personally
gluing
love
your eyeballs to the screen.
content. So there you go. Oh, Nick's saying he's ready to play a game. I'm a little busy navigating this wonderful league. And then the third rookie running back that's above the rest is Najee Harris, 733 yards and 11 touchdowns for KK, who is starting this guy. Normal dev again, 87 speed, but still using him for some reason. KK tried to trade for Jacobs in the last league that we had in the redo when this league sucked. So apparently he just loves running backs who have 87 speed, but he's using him. He's using him effectively. Um, other running backs, there were a slew of second round picks that haven't been played that much. I wouldn't say they're not doing well. They just haven't been played that much. Etienne for the Cardinals, round 2, pick 20, has 135 yards and 3 touchdowns for JP. Chuba Hubbard for the Jets, round 2, pick 7. 189 yards and 3 touchdowns. And then for me, Zamir White with the Bengals has 347 yards and 6 touchdowns. I've tried using him a little bit more. He was auto-picked by me while I was out partying on Halloween, I think. Or after I took the bar on, I picked my picked him round 2, pick 15, and he's okay. I'm probably going to trade him this offseason if anybody wants him. He's got 93 speed, pretty good star dev. So
Third round pick to the Texans.
Plug. Yeah, the Dolphins here. Kylan Hill, 295 yards and 4 touchdowns, and then Javion Hawkins, the Chargers' second rookie running back. I think he said he has like 93 speed. I don't think he's very good overall, but I think he's superstar dev, and he's tried to use him a little bit. He has 247 yards and 2 touchdowns, and that's it for rookie running backs. For wide receivers, there is one wide receiver that's a rookie that has been a little bit above the rest, and John will be happy to know that it is Rondale Moray. Rondale Moray with 1,500 yards and 12 touchdowns. He's been pretty solid. The dude's super fast. I had him pretty high on my draft board because I knew he was OP in the last draft that had Rondale Moore. So I tried to get him, but Rondale Moray goes to the Jacks, 95 speed, 98 excel, and he has route technician, so the guy's going to be good. You know that John is just going to throw streaks the whole game, so it just fits his play style perfectly.
Oh, I know that one.
Manny tells us to look out for Cedric Craig, rookie halfback. I'm guessing it's a Saints player. I've never heard of this man in my life. I do not know this man. He has 18 carries for 61 yards. He's a 64 overall with 91 speed. Manny, in order to dev him up, you're going to have to stop throwing to Kamara. So I don't really care about Cedric Craig. Wide receiver number 2, it's a cut above the rest, Jalen Waddle for the Ravens, 786 yards and 4 touchdowns. I tried to get Mikey to trade him to me very earlier in the season, and he said no way. The dude's fast as shit. He's an X factor. Mikey can't throw, so it's fine. But yeah. Number 3 is Terrace Marshall Jr. with the Browns. He was pick 3, round 3, pick 30 by Nick. He actually devved him up from star to superstar this season with questionable dev trait with a punt return touchdown counting, I guess, and it glitched on him
That's
for the second time this
LSU
season.
guy.
It is.
To you, Nick.
It is.
You're a big LSU guy,
It
like
is.
myself.
Nick, I think he has him as number 6, and he looks really big and weird out there with the number 6 on throwing to him. But he's being used very well by Nick. I will say. He has 52 catches, 625 yards, and 6 touchdowns. And then finally, Jamar Chase, the pick number 3 in the draft, round 1, pick 3 by the Dolphins. I think we talked about it a little bit earlier. 691 yards, 4 touchdowns. There were some other picks, a few first-round picks. Devontae Smith with the Packers has 628 yards and 8 touchdowns. My guy, Amon-Ra St. Brown, round 1, pick 26. That was auto-drafted, 38 catches, 523 yards, and 6 touchdowns. And then Rashad Bateman for the Vikings was a first-round pick 24, 20 catches, 337 yards, 4 touchdowns. But I really want to talk about KK and his sleazy bullshit that he pulled on me. I had Chatarius Atwell very high on my draft board. I was very excited to see that my computer drafted him while I was away. Round 4, pick 26. Little to find out that KK signs him off my practice squad while I'm on vacation after I take the bar exam. Well, he has 30 catches, 560 yards, and 3 touchdowns. He's KK's second leading receiver. And he just stole him from me. And I'm very sad about it. Very sad about it. And then we have Chris Olave with the Pats, round 3, pick 6, 405 yards and 3 touchdowns. And then Tylan Wallace with the Raiders. Joe is actually, he was trying to force feed him a little bit early in the season. He has 385 yards, but no touchdowns. At this point, the podcast has been going on way too long. The masses, after weeks of demanding that we release results and we talk fantasy, are now groaning that they are missing precious sleep because of fantasy. So at this point, I think, Booty, what we'll do is we'll cut it off and we'll save the sleepers and the fantasy player of the year races for uh, the fantasy player of the year awards after week 17. And we'll get back and we'll do this and we'll release results for week 15, week 16, and week 17. What do you say?
Sounds awesome to me. Keep an eye out. Deshaun Watson, Brandon Cooks, an elite duo, new to the fantasy game. That's all I
Hell
gotta
yeah.
say about that.
Hell yeah. Well, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate you being receptive to the idea of a new podcast. I think we can all agree that we are very tired of hearing the same old every week with shitty top 10 rankings that honestly don't even happen anymore. We don't even get shitty top 10 rankings anymore. We just get people tagging KK saying, "Where's the podcast?" and KK not responding, and then showing up to ban somebody for a bullshit rule. So big thanks to everyone out there for doing absolutely nothing, especially Mikey for ghosting me and not joining me on the podcast. Big thank you to Booty Muncher for hopping in here and helping provide comedic relief and commentary. And a big thank you to all of you for playing fantasy. I picked it up. I thought it would be fun to track and do for the league. And I really just like spreadsheets because I'm a huge dork. So thank you all for playing fantasy every week. And we will catch you next time on the HK Fantasy Podcast, aka Cluter's Corner. Have a good night.
Thanks for your time, boys.